So the war between Iran and Israel is continuing. There was another. We are doing two shows today. The second one is only 5 hours or like 5 to 6 hours away from the first one. Yet Iran has managed to fit in another strike in the meantime. Luckily, or rather to Israel's competence. So far, there are no reports of any impacts in the latest Iranian missile attack. So it seems like that one didn't hit. Welcome to the second part of the Daily Objective for today. Joining me today are James Valiant, Mark Pellegrino, and Michael Kaufman. Hey guys, I'll go to you in a second. I'll just run down with a little bit of news as we now do. So there's also police and Shin Bet are saying that or have arrested two Jewish Israelis on suspicion on carrying missions for Iran. There's also been a car bomb attack or sort of cars started exploding in Tehran, which is going to be the main topic to cover Tehran today. Israel is denying that they were involved in any way. There's also going to be the state of emergency in Israel is going to continue until June 30th. IDF has also said there was a IDF sort of conference or a speak where they've said that they have established a safer aerial route all the way to Tehran. Now we knew there was Israel had drones ready in Iran. I'm wondering if we now have a whole airport in Iran. That would definitely be great. Also, Communist Party of Iran is calling for nationwide uprising to topple the Iranian regime. Now, as far as I understand, this party is basically mostly Kurdish party, so they are different from the communists who helped this revolution and actually joined with the Islamists to overthrow the previous regime. It looks like Hezbollah is not interested in joining this fight so far. Iran's president says the US is undoubtedly directly involved, which is, I think, a bold statement, meaning that could justify Iranian aggression towards US. Good luck with that. And many people have been killed, among them police chief of Tehran, head of intelligence of Revolutionary Guard and his deputy, and I'm sure many more that I'm missing. I think I'll go to you, Mark, first, because you haven't been on since we started doing this sort of daily show. So, yeah, have you been following this in any way, and what are your thoughts so far?
Well, just what I've been seeing in social media and on the television news. Of course, the libertarians are in an uproar over this whole thing and trying to make a big deal out of Israel's preemptive attack on the terrorist state of Iran, and they're trying to claim that it's going to drag us into World War III. Of course, it's not. Iran has been exposed as a paper tiger when Israel first took out a lot of their ordnance a few months ago, and they are literally incapable of carrying the fight any further. All of their allies are deserting them. I think the Arabs are secretly they're supporting them, publicly, but secretly wishing and hoping for Iran to topple. There's a significant portion of the population, I think, are liberal and want to get rid of the mullahs. So I'm hoping that Khomeini is about to have his date with 72 virgins, and we'll see some regime change over in Iran. It'll be great for the world, despite the libertarians like Dave Smith throwing little tantrums on social media. His tantrums won't age well with history. So I'm very happy that this has happened. I'm very grateful to Israel for doing something that the United States probably should have done 20 years ago. In fact, it's something that Leonard Peikoff said on the O'Reilly factor, that the real enemy was Iran, that the real conflict would be with Iran, and of course O'Reilly didn't have him on after that, because he said nuclear weapons wouldn't be off the table. And, a pragmatist like O'Reilly couldn't take it. But finally, the trash is being taken out in the Middle East. Israel's doing it. The world should be grateful to them. Unfortunately, they're not. But the smart people are grateful. Thank you, Israel, for doing what you're doing.
Michael, any thoughts so far since yesterday?
Well, I totally agree with Mark, and I think that behind closed doors, the world is thrilled. God forbid the Western Europeans, especially the so-called leaders, support the takedown of probably one of the worst, certainly one of the worst mid-sized regimes in the world. And obviously they were going after centrifuges. And remember back with idiot Barack Obama, who started this whole fiasco, that Iran was claiming, and Barack didn't deny it really, that they were doing this for medicinal purposes and for energy. And really, you couldn't have been stupider. Now, Obama knows better. But we all know that Obama's moral compass was completely screwed up, and there's no point north. Not clear to me even has a point south on that compass. I think it's just broken. And this has been continued with whoever was pulling the puppet strings with Biden and so on. Uh, it is great to see it come down. The second thing I would just say is one thing that this war was hopefully going to last a few days, and we can talk about the last missile strike of 50 ballistic missiles, because the one before that was devastating, but frankly only 3 or 4 got through. That's all it takes. These are big missiles, but percentage wise it was terrific. But out of the last 50 that were sent, 0 got through or 0 landed. And I don't want to gloat or declare victory, but that may say something. And the fact that it was only 50, and also that it was during the day, I think is very important, because that allows, we talked about this yesterday on the show, that allows Israel to come through. I think that's one other thing. And the last thing I think we should touch on today is if you see some of the pictures coming out of Tehran, we had the so-called temporary interruption of the 12 million cubic meters or whatever it was of gas that was going to be temporarily interrupted because the gas refinery was destroyed, or at least set on fire. The temporariness there is probably a lot longer than what most of us would consider temporary. And then the second thing is apparently one of the big water mains and possibly a sewer main in Tehran were hit because, of course, like all good terrorist organizations, there are missile batteries right in the middle of residential areas, just from the Gaza and Hezbollah playbook. I mean, guess what? Iran funds Gaza and Hamas and Hezbollah. So if you look at what's happening to a modern capital city, and people are leaving the city, you got to wonder who would support a government that allowed that to happen. And look at Gaza. Now, one last point on that. That said, Hamas is still in power in Gaza, and they have allowed that country to be essentially made into a parking lot. It would be a terrible thing if Tehran or other parts of Iran had to be made into a parking lot before the people rise up and the Ayatollah is gone.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, just to build on the temporary point, technically, until the regime is gone, is temporary, right? There is no limitation on how long it takes, only until certain action is taken. So when the regime is gone, I think we can work on getting the oil flowing again. Now, I mean, you mentioned the sort of the strikes that are going through and are not going through, and I have to stop because thank you, Michael. He just donated 50 Ayn Rand Center UK membership. That's a great deal, and thank you so much. So people can now enjoy the perks. And one of the people who has received this membership is Razi Ginsburg. So he can check out our behind the scenes contact. So great for him. Another point. Michael, you made a point about sort of like how much stuff really does get through. And I've just seen if you go to Khamenei X post or his X page, you can see him like posting propaganda videos, and he posted one where it shows the strikes on Israeli cities, and it shows about like 6 or 7 different strikes, but all of them are the same strike from different angle. As of right now, they have about 1 or 2 videos they can show, which shows that Iran hasn't been able to accomplish much. Now, because Israel is life affirming, because Israelis do much more care about life, every single life costs much, which is not something you see on Iranian side. For them, it's just something that happens, an acceptable casualty, while for Israel, every single that hurts. So I wanted to go to James, but we just have Alex joining. So I just want to go to Alex first, since she is right now in Israel, and ask her just quickly how is she doing, and are you safe, and what are your thoughts since since you were last on. I'm not sure when it was.
Yeah, I mean, life is going on as normal. Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a bit of a different vibe. There's a lot of things are closed. You can see definitely not as many people in the streets. But yeah, generally speaking, I would say good spirits. I would say as well that I'm not surprised by the kind of the extent of the damage, but I think it is difficult to actually grasp what it is that you're even seeing when you see full neighborhoods, right? Like in Rishon LeZion and in Bat Yam, like just completely destroyed. But even with that, I don't feel that there is a lack of support from the Israeli people. I think that there's a real like very rarely do you have the whole country being united, but there is complete unison, okay, that this is a threat that we have to obliterate, and also that we have to really, I would say, kind of, we have to prepare ourselves, I think, as well for like weeks, if not months of this, which is also quite difficult, I think, for people to grasp.
Yeah, I mean the big problem, of course, is that all flights are paused. There is the emergency is going to last until the end of the month. Not to mention how long it can go on. So for any Israelis outside, for any people sort of stuck in Israel, it's not the not the most fun thing to be, but this absolutely needs to happen. Iran has to be taken out. This is one of the greatest opportunity, and Israel is taking really making use of that opportunity. I mean, you mentioned sort of Israelis are united. I might as well here mention this because I've seen it. Apparently, Bennett and Yair Lapid have also called for Iranian people to stand up to the regime. But yeah, I mean, to go to you, James, sorry for taking so long, but I'm not sure when you were last on the show. We are doing way too many shows. I cannot. So yeah, James, any thoughts from you about this whole time since the last you were on?
Just on that comment, Daniel, I think that those of us here at Ayn Rand Center UK should be awfully proud of the hard-hitting reality that we've been providing the world through these broadcasts. You guys have been, in recent days, obviously, been working your heinies off, and I am deeply grateful myself. This is a unique place here at Ayn Rand Center UK where we give clear, morally clear, factually accurate information, and that you can't say about other Western media outlets, certainly. And I have to say, the last time I was on the show was when Israel first launched the attack, and we had that long, podcast on this. And I just want to say, we knew then, and we said it then, that Iran would throw everything in the kitchen sink that they had left. As Dr. Kaufman has just pointed out, what's interesting is it appears to be petering out. And we heard from Iran, oh, well, we'll stop if Israel stops. And, at first they said, well, screw the negotiations with Trump that were supposed to happen today. And now they're kind of, backpedaling on all that, which is a real good sign that their psychology has been hit, and they're being hit very hard. But the other thing we said on that long podcast, when we said we knew that Iran would throw everything they had left, and including the kitchen sink, was be safe. And right now, Israel is doing the entire world a favor. And yeah, that first attack where, a couple of the missiles did get through, I mean, Israelis died. I mean, so far, hundreds of Israelis have been injured, 11 have been killed. Think of it. This is the most badass nation on the planet. And for the sake of civilization, Israelis have died. And so I think the entire civilized world should say a giant thank you and put their hearts out to Israel right now, because Israelis in the last 2 days have died, nearly a dozen, and hundreds more have been injured. And they're taking one for civilization right now. And yeah, when you consider the number of casualties on the Iranian side, it is remarkable how efficient Israel is at getting military leaders, nuclear scientists, nuclear facilities where they store uranium, very importantly, ballistic missile sites, because you consider, I want everyone also to consider, missiles did get through. Missiles did kill Israelis. And imagine if they did have a nuclear bomb. Imagine if they developed better ballistic missiles. The entire civilized world would be a threat. And these religious fanatics who are in charge in Tehran would not hesitate to use them against America. And when Israel and America is done, believe me, my friends in Europe, my friends in the United Kingdom, you're on the hit list too. You're just way too civilized for these savages. So yeah, I really do want regime change. I don't want to criticize leaders during a time of war and when an attack is actually going on. You know, Daniel, you mentioned those cars exploding in Tehran. You know, cars explode, Daniel. I don't think we should impute anything to anybody, but Israel has demonstrated, though, their ability, their dazzling intelligence and their dazzling ability to target the right things and to do it efficiently. This idea, you warn people and they get out. When it comes to the Ayatollah, please do not hesitate. I would really love it. I would love it even more if Trump would actively join in. Now, I know he's, whatever people say about his 3D chess, taking a side here, taking a side in favor of regime change would be a delightful thing. And making sure Israel, at least, if we don't use those bunker buster bombs to get those deep underground sites, we should at least let Israel have all the bunker buster bombs they need and want so they can fully destroy every aspect of Iran's military and, as I say, take out the leadership so that the people of Iran have a chance to get something better, which they have deserved. 20 years ago, Mark, this should have been done 46 years ago. This should have been done 40 years ago. America should have taken it clear. You know, Ayn Rand and Leonard Peikoff have both said we would, for decades, regret not going after Iran immediately after the Islamic Revolution in 1979, and how many acts of war against America? I mean, in Beirut, back more than 40 years ago, killing Marines. I mean, how many acts of war do we have to put up with? How many Israelis and Americans have to die before America takes a clear stand in favor of regime change in Tehran? This is the battle for civilization going on today. And I don't care about those pusillanimous, spineless libertarians or Democrats who for years have been coddling and protecting as Michael points out, the most evil, at least mid-sized regime in this world, certainly the one with the most savage ideology, which is the most explicitly opposed to civilization itself. So what's going on, I'm so grateful to Israel. I just want to thank every Israeli out there for taking one for civilization, because this is the battle for civilization, ladies and gentlemen. And that's pretty much all I have to say right now.
Yeah, and we'll take a look what Israel is doing in Tehran right now. And yeah, I think the most important point has to be mentioned is the fact that how much we are paying the consequences of. This is the importance of principle. Is when you abandon your principles, when you do not hold to them, it will come to bite you in the ass. Imagine if we didn't ally Soviet Union during World War II, how much the world would look different. Imagine it after 9/11, we went after the guys that did it. Imagine if after Islamic Revolution, where American hostages were taken, if we did what needed to be done, what would have changed? We have a few super chats. First, Jonathan, thank you so much. Thank you, Bonnie, for a super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tora Worldwide, for your super chat. Thank you. And he says, Daniel, read Bonnie super chat. Thank you so much, Vanilla. Yes. So again, thank you, Bonnie, for your super chat. Thank you, Tora, for reminding me. And so yeah, let's take a look of one of the things that is apparently happening now in Tehran. Yeah. So there's many more videos of this. Apparently, one of the attacks has hit Tehran in a way that something maybe exploding. I mean, James, you mentioned it. You know, cars explode, helicopters fall, you know, pipes burst. You know, this just happens. This is a state of life. But yeah, it looks like Israel is hitting hard Tehran. Israel has a complete aerial superiority, at least in the sort of parts. Sort of like Tehran and west of Tehran. They've also, IDF has announced that they have safe aerial ways all the way to Tehran. So Israel is in great position to do whatever is necessary Mark, any thoughts from you about Israel action in Tehran? And
I just have to say, thank God there's one country on earth that has not been completely corrupted by postmodernism and Marxist ideology to the degree that they have no confidence in their civilization and are letting it be taken over by droogs and Islamicists. At least Israel has confidence in itself because it understands that it's in a fight for its metaphysical existence, unlike Europe and the West, who don't understand the creeping war that's been happening here in the US and in Europe for the past 40 years or so. Again, Israel is the vanguard of Western civilization right now, whether people want to admit it or not, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. As far as, you know, cars exploding and you know, pipes bursting and all that, I love it. I mean, I love how this should be striking fear into the hearts of every Islamist regime on the planet, because Israel will take you out with a pager. They will. You can be in an apartment building thinking you're safe because no one will blow up the entire complex, but they will blow up your particular apartment building, the car that you are in. There's no place where you can run, and let's hope that the Ayatollah sees that there's no place that he can run. And I think the leaders Hamas, who are living in luxury in Qatar, let's hope that they understand that, you know, time is going to catch up with them very soon. The Mossad and Israel will catch up with them very soon. They are not getting off the hook, so they better give those billions back to the people they stole them from.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about the sort of the fear that Iranians must have, and yeah, I mean, we can go to back about sort of when Iran found out that most of their, I can't remember the story exactly, but that part of their intelligence was completely done by Mossad. Yeah, I mean, you have to be paranoid at this point. You are thinking about every single person, like, oh, you know, the guy who has been Uber dashing our food is, you know, how long has he actually been here? Because it's important to remember, if there are Mossad agents in Iran, they're not Jewish. They look like anybody else. They are not, you know, they don't wear yarmulke. And, you know, if you only look around, you'll find out that they are agents. Michael, what do you make of Israeli actions in Tehran?
Well, I love that Israel denied that they did the car bombings. I think that just to add more questionableness, you know, maybe it's a different rebel group that's supporting supporting Israel and wants to take out the regime. It's good to foster complete chaos, and that's what Israel's doing. They took out, I believe they just recently, earlier today at Tehran, took out another one of the top guards, you know, amazing Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps. I love the name. I mean, this name is supposed to elicit fear, like these are superhuman soldiers. And actually, a few days ago, or just after this war started, I Googled which is stronger militarily, Iran or Israel, and it was just what you'd expect from the morons out there and these pundits and these experts. And they pointed out that Iran is 10 times bigger than Israel by population. They pointed out that they have at least twice as many people in the military. They pointed out that they actually said, I think, that their air forces were similar, that maybe the Israeli Air Force was slightly superior, and so on and that Iran had a lot more missiles than Israel. And it didn't mention that Israel was nuclear because everyone expects Israel to behave in a rational fashion. You know, the old sick joke is that if Israel wanted Hamas to be gone, Gaza would no longer exist, right? I mean, it would be molten, whether it was from nuclear or just big bombs. And of course, if Hamas wanted Israel, if Israel put down its weapons, then Israel would no longer exist. So another indication that the pundits and the experts and the same idiots who are predicting World War III because the best thing to do is keep talking. My main, I am very sorry to see Donald Trump, and it could just be, you know, I've said on this show a lot that Trump talks and talks, and we should just look at his actions. We have to, I think everyone has to agree that whether he was actively involved or passively involved, the actions here worked out really well. On day 61, whether it was luck or not, 61 after he gave the ultimatum, Israel unleashed holy hell. As far as we know, the U.S. has obviously supplied munitions to Israel, but they haven't done, they haven't taken offensive steps as far as we know, but they have taken defensive steps, and they have intercepted a number of the missiles, and they have provided Patriot batteries, and they have provided a whole bunch of intelligence, and so on and so forth. And they've also made pretty strong statements like, go ahead and make my day. Remember Clint Eastwood saying that, go ahead, make my day. That is to say, Iran, go ahead and attack us. We will, and I actually hope Iran attacks the US, because we need to let Trump show the world that he's not afraid to use the largest military. And I'm spending all this money on my tax dollars are going to the military. The German chancellor, who is, you know, pro-ish Israel, especially for a Western European leader, you know, suggested we go back to diplomacy. And we need to just throw these morons out. The time of diplomacy is gone. It was gone a long time ago. Terrorist regimes do not respond to diplomacy. Why do these people feel that they have to keep talking about having tea parties in Brussels with terrorists and acting like you have a normal person on the other side? Can we please, somebody please put a stop and just tell them to shut up? If they have nothing useful to say, please don't suggest that there's an avenue of diplomacy. The other thing is, Iran wants to have a peace deal with Israel. Iran doesn't want a peace deal with Israel. What Iran wants to do is a ceasefire, which is very different than peace. And they want a ceasefire so they can rearm and then annihilate Israel later. Those are my comments today. I think that the free world continues to be pathetic. Trump is certainly the least pathetic of them all, and he probably is. He might be playing good cop, bad cop here, which is fine with me as an American and an Israeli dual citizen. But the rest of the world is a disgrace. Really, it is. They learn nothing from Chamberlain. They learn nothing from World War II, and they are just the most disappointing, feckless invertebrates you ever saw.
Yeah, I mean, something to remember is people like Keir Starmer, they have announced that they are not going to be involved before even anybody asked them. Nobody even asked them to get involved. Iran didn't threaten them. They're already saying, no, we are out. Now, apparently, they are moving more troops into Middle East, so we'll have to see what's happening there. Now, I really like the point about sort of like how big of a military is, because the fact is, in the Middle East, nobody really has a military besides Israel. It's funny how incapable most of the Middle Eastern armies are. I remember the story from the Yom Kippur War, where Saudi Arabia was like sending planes against Israel, and apparently they just left. They just deserted. They just didn't care and flew away because of how much little discipline, how little, pretty much any idea of army professionalism there is in most of the Middle Eastern nations. I also like to remind people who are enjoying the show that we are live every day, 2 times a day at noon UK time, which is 7 a.m. Eastern, as well as at this point, which is 5:30 p.m. UK time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and go for hours. So make sure to tune in every day, subscribe so you know when we go live. And we also have a few more super chats. So first, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, in quotes, praying for Alex and all in Israel. Of course, we do not believe in any religion, which is why lives matter even more, because this is the only thing you have. So definitely thinking about everybody in Israel and hoping this will be over soon. And by over soon, I mean the Iranian regime will be over soon. We also have a super chat from PC. Thank you so much. Super chat from Enric. Thank you so much. He says, congratulations. There is currently over 1,000 viewers. We are currently at 1,200. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We also have a super chat from Mindspan Wellness. He says, in quotes, there can be no compromise between a property owner and a burglar. Offering the burglar a single teaspoon of one silverware would not be a compromise, but a total surrender, the recognition of his right to one's property, which is Ayn Rand's quote. And absolutely, once you compromise with evil, once you surrender, once you accept that them dealing with force with you is an acceptable way of interaction, that's when you know you're gone. You've already given the moral premise. Iran can do whatever they want. And we also have a super chat from Ginger. Thank you so much. She says, so irritated to have to say nice things about Bibi and Trump, at least for getting out of Bibi's way. But this is as happy as the pagers. Absolutely. And I'm going to go to Alex again. Any more thoughts from you?
I just loved it. I think how the initial kind of attack, one of the main things that we wanted to do was to just decapitate the leadership so that nobody can make a decision about counter offensives. Okay, it's kind of so typical, and kind of, if anybody's listened to anything I've said about the structure in well, the Persians are not Arabs, but kind of, I would suppose, Islamic dictatorship armies, is that there's no independent thinking, right? Once you take away the kind of the senior figures, they're first of all kind of standing around saying, hang on, like, are we supposed to do something here? Like, are we supposed to fight back? Like, what are we supposed to do? They're waiting around for answers. It's so classic. It's exactly like the Battle of Bakka. Okay, like with the Syrian MiGs just flying around waiting for orders, right? In the meantime, Israel were just picking each and every one of them off. It's like it's typical again and again and again. You never fail to disappoint us. And that's also what I love about us going after the nuclear scientists as well. Is that it's the just destruction of that knowledge, and it really taking that away for years. Yeah, sure, destroy, I think, the program if you can, on a physical level, right? But taking out all of the nuclear scientists and removing all of that know-how, right? It can just hollow you out. It can just, you look at the Syrian army in the end, it was hollowed out because of the various purges, okay, that had gone on, for decades. Is that the paranoia as well. That's also what I love, is that the paranoia is just going to drive them to Stalinist purges, so that you're not going to have anybody left at the upper echelons. It's going to be these kind of, lackeys. They will be the lackeys who are kind of like, currently like the majors or something, right? They're going to go on now to be the generals and the decision makers, and they've never made a decision. They don't know anything about strategy. They don't know anything about how the army is going to be functioning. I just love that. I just think that's great. So taking them back just, years and years and years, decades. And I really feel as well that when it comes to regime change, and the same thing I feel about whether or not America joins in, it has, we have to fight our own battles. And I think that the regime change, it's the Iranian people's battle. I feel that we can decapitate and neuter the regime, but they need to be the ones to fight that battle. And if America doesn't perceive the Iranians to be a threat, I think that is really misguided. But if they don't, then I think that we need to fight that fight for us, so that we can have a bit of self-respect. Of course, if America wants to join in, you join in. Okay, if that becomes one of your strategic objectives, go ahead. But I don't think that we should be, I think if they've made a decision on a political level that it's unpopular for them to an attack on the Iranian, Revolutionary War, I think that we need to take matters into our own hands. We need to have the respect to do that.
Yeah, and talking about taking matters into own hands, Michael here is posting in the chat that apparently Iran's top spy chief, Brigadier General Mohammad Kazemi, and his deputy are allegedly buried beneath what's left of the IRGC intelligence HQ in Tehran. Now, this was, I believe, destroyed earlier this morning, and so we didn't know exactly who was confirmed to be there and who is now under there. But yeah, if this is proven to be true, this is great. And even if not, the fact that this should absolutely be destroyed. The fact that they shouldn't have a place to meet. This is what I think really separates, I think, to go to Alex's points, sort of like modern liberal professional democracies from these cronyist dictatorships, right? America has a clear line of succession. If something were to happen to President Trump, we know exactly who to listen to next, as much as I wouldn't like to listen to him. We know who we are taking from orders next, or sort of who the military is taking from order next. And that's everywhere. That's within military. And another separate point, the fact that in a cronyist dictatorship, ability and being able to do something is a threat to you. That person is a threat to your position. That person is a threat to your livelihood. Well, this is not true in Western countries, or at least we try to not make it true. We reward competency, not sort of put it in place because somebody is a family of somebody else or somebody is a friend of somebody else. James, I'm not sure if you have to leave in a bit, but I'll go to you now for any of your thoughts.
I do, unfortunately. But my last comment, Alex, of course, this is Israel's battle. I mean, they're in the existential fight for, survival, really. And so, of course, they have to do whatever is necessary. And I hope they do what all is necessary. I am a citizen of the United States, and I realize that the United States, and indeed all of civilization, has a self-interest in this battle. We have a direct interest in, they've been killing Americans, threatening Americans, et cetera, et cetera. And so my test for my leader right now, Mr. Trump, is, okay, Trump supporters, if he is playing some kind of 3D, 4D chess, whatever you want to call it, let's invite the Ayatollah himself to some kind of, and make sure he gets taken out instead. So this, whether or not there is a better Iran tomorrow is up to the Iranian people. On the other hand, America doesn't have to have boots on the ground to make sure that the regime is changed. And at the end of the day, that's my test for you, Mr. Trump, as an American voter, as an American citizen. Israel is the front line of the battle for civilization here, but it's also taking one for us. And we should do everything in our power to give the oppressed Iranian people a chance for something better, just a chance for them to have something better. And my test, as I say, for the president at the end of the day is whether or not the Ayatollah remains alive, frankly, and whether or not America does actively step in some way to make sure that the Iranian people have a chance for themselves to make something better. But if not, even if they don't, even if something better doesn't happen in Iran, America has a self-interest here. We have a selfish interest in changing the regime in Tehran and absolutely eliminating the threat of every aspect of the Iranian military and using whatever munitions and giving to Israel whatever munitions make possible the utter destruction, the absolute and complete annihilation of their nuclear programs, their military, and their political leadership. So at the end of the day, Mr. Trump, if there's still Mr. Khomeini there in Tehran, I will hold you responsible for his survival and the survival of the vicious, savage regime that controls Tehran and Iran today. I'm holding my president as an American accountable for that right now. I know I'm just one vote, but I am a loudmouth, and that's my test on this. But as I am gratified. As Michael says, one last thought. I am gratified that we are providing the support. I would not have expected this. Imagine if this was Harris. Imagine if this was Biden. Imagine if this was someone like Obama. They would be right now viciously attacking verbally Israel, and they would be holding back the weapons, and they might not be providing the correct intelligence. They might, help with some shooting down of some missiles coming into Israel, but they would not be giving the kind of support that Trump is, I think, giving behind the scenes. But Mr. Trump, it's not enough. It's not enough until the Ayatollah is dead, and the Iranians have a chance for something better. That'll be my thought before I part. Thank you all.
Thank you, James, for joining us today. We have a few more super chats. We have a super chat from PC. Thank you so much. He says, I saw a small Palestine march in London today. I mean, yeah, we have, pretty much as soon as Israel started getting attacked again, you saw people going marching with Palestinian flags, with Iranian flags, again, completely devoid of any sort of moral ability to actually look at what's happening. Now a few more, I think, news. We have a few more super chats actually. We have a super chat from Gingasaurus, who says they are not Iranian, they are Islamic occupiers in Iran. Bring back Reza Pahlavi. The majority of Iranians want him back. It is the path to peace. I wouldn't overstate how much people want back the Pahlavi dynasty, and I wouldn't overstate how much the people of Iran are against the regime. The fact is that what's happening right now is many Iranians are fleeing Tehran, many Iranians are fleeing Iran, not that many are standing up to a regime, or at least as far as we know. We also have a super chat from Race. Thank you so much. He says, have any of the October 7 hostages been killed in retaliation? I'm not aware. I believe there was one body actually returned today. I think I've seen a report just an hour ago or so, but I haven't seen anything else when it comes to Gaza. We also have a super chat from Jonathan, thank you so much. He says Israel is badass, absolutely. And yeah, to sort of build the point of if people remember when Hezbollah was taken out, it was Nasrallah was killed, and then his replacement was killed, and then their replacement was killed, and then their replacement was killed. At some point, I stopped learning the names of people who are taking over, and I think this quick succession of getting rid of people who are supposed to make decisions, and again, they don't even have to be right decisions. The fact that they are paralyzed, the fact that they don't know what to do is what wins war. The fact that they have the capability to do something but lack the leadership, lack the ability making to do something. And similarly, if Ayatollah was taken out, I'm not sure how wide is a state of succession in Iran, but I believe picking next Ayatollah is a very complicated process, and I'm not sure if there's anybody in place to quickly take over. Because again, if there is somebody who is supposed to be the immediate succession, that's a threat to Ayatollah's power, because there is somebody in place. So the same thing that sort of makes these regimes dictatorial is the same thing that makes them weak. Now, we have to cover this because we mentioned Trump, and there are a few more things from here. So again, when it comes to his action, it's still flip-flopping. He has said it's possible we could get involved, according to ABC News, but not at this moment. And we cannot say much about what this means. He said that Putin could be a potential mediator in the conflict. It was very unlucky because yesterday it was Trump's birthday, so Putin said happy birthday to him. So now he's swayed. But Trump has said he is ready. He called me about it. We had a long talk about it. He also posted on Truth Social something about India and Pakistan made a deal, Sudan and Ethiopia made a deal. He listed a bunch of things and said, so Iran and Israel could make a deal. And something that has been reported in the last 30 minutes or so. Apparently, according to two American officials, Donald Trump vetoed Israeli plan to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. We'll see if this is actually true, but if so, that is definitely very disheartening. Mark, any thoughts from you?
Why am I not surprised? There should be no conversations with any of these people. Any of the above mentioned rogues have to be eliminated. And who cares that Donald Trump vetoed Israel's plan to assassinate the Ayatollah? It's none of his fucking business, to be honest with you. And that man's got to go, and somebody's got to do it. Alex said something that I thought spot on. You know, authoritarian regimes, we invest them with so much power because the dominant culture thinks evil is an equal and opposite power to good. It's really not. Authoritarian regimes, as she explained, are inflexible. They're rigid. They're afraid of achievement. They're afraid of innovation because it comes at a cost to the person in power. And so they're constantly checking that. It's political considerations that become the most important thing over reality and moral considerations. So they're really no threat for long periods of time. Maybe initially, if we allow them to grow a little bit, they can become a threat, but they can really be wiped out quite easily. And we should be taking notes about what Israel is doing with respect to China, since that seems to be the next big bad that the conservatives are painting for us, the way they did with the Soviet Union, that really only had the GDP of Texas and was really not a bear but a cub. And so I'm sure China is suffering from the same epistemological ailments as every other authoritarian regime as Xi attempts to consolidate power. And they're weak when they're pretending to be strong. And the surest way to defeat them is to do what Israel is doing to Iran and has been doing to Hamas and Hezbollah. You take out the head of the snake, and the rest of the snake flips and flops around and doesn't know exactly what to do, and they become easy targets, easy pickings. So if anything, if I were president, I would be in there full bore with Israel and defeat Iran in a week, take out Hamas in a couple of days, which Israel could easily do, easily do, but we could help them do it. And then let the rest of the world bitch and moan and complain while we save their lives. They'll come to their senses at some point, or they won't. And if they don't, their own populations are at risk from the infiltration of Islamicism in Europe. I mean, I live in France half the time. I see the way it's changing, the way the demographics are changing in England. This is sort of a soft crusade, if you will, of Islamicism across Europe. They're trying to achieve what they couldn't achieve from the 7th through the 17th centuries by warfare. They're trying to achieve by taking advantage of postmodernism and radical skepticism and lack of self-confidence in Western civilization to take over. Not going to happen if we have anything to say about it.
Yeah, and something. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. Something I've noticed about Trump, or at least something I've realized from some of especially when you listen to people talking to their personal conversations to Trump, that basically he does care about legacy first and foremost. That's sort of like his thing, and I just don't understand why cannot his legacy be finally taking out the Iranian regime. Why it has to be this sort of
because he's got his self-esteem is all mixed up in this deal making thing. He considers himself like the greatest deal maker of all time, and he's got a bunch of yes men around him who say he is the greatest deal maker of all time. So he can't even, and since he's a pragmatist, he can't even conceive of the fact that there are some people you don't deal with. You simply do not negotiate with.
Yeah, I kind of wish this was Trump 1, because imagine having John Bolton there right now. Imagine having somebody of his caliber or something close to him, basically now, like when there is an actual option to do something like that, and advising to Trump, because unfortunately, people like Pete Hegseth, they have no desire to actually do anything when it comes to actually fighting. Michael?
Well, I think they have no desire to cross Trump. And Trump too is certainly more confident. At some point he's got to realize that he didn't get Putin to do anything. Putin's still killing Ukrainians. Yeah, they exchanged prisoners. Great. He didn't save that. He fancies himself kind of this peacemonger rather than a warmonger, which is to the point Mark made. I mean, you just don't enter negotiations with these sorts of people. They're bad faith negotiations by definition. And nobody with the biggest military and the most advanced military technology should ever enter into a deal where it's a bad faith negotiation from the get-go. We already saw during the idiot Biden years when the Secretary of State was really not much smarter than a kindergartner, say that he was a bit shocked that Hamas wasn't negotiating in good faith. And I don't know that Witkoff, frankly, for all of his success in real estate, I'm not sure Witkoff is a lot more sophisticated. I mean, these people go to the table. First of all, they go to Qatar, where they know the entire curriculum that the Trump administration is trying to get rid of is basically funded largely by Qatar. And they go to Qatar and they negotiate with terrorists. It just absolutely boggles the mind. And then they keep talking about how they're getting closer and closer. And if you know math, someone should teach these people that we're not talking about a parabola. This is a hyperbola, and hyperbolas never cross the axis. There's no chance we're going to get a deal done of any merit. What does it mean to have a pretty good deal with Iran? Does that mean one nuclear weapon or two? Does that mean you're a little bit pregnant? The whole thing is absolutely mystifying. And I'm a huge Trump supporter, mainly because I believe that Kamala Harris would destroy the free world. I believe that she is a total flake and that she has zero moral clarity and she hates America. Well, she doesn't like it very much. I'm disappointed in Trump so far, but at least it's this war, he's allowing it so far. If he did in fact block Khomeini, I mean, there's nothing good Khomeini has ever done for the world. And the usual CIA baloney of we might get a worse regime in there. That's fine. If a bad tumor comes back, you kill that one. I mean, this is not a let's not do anything because one of our genius intellectuals thought of a reason not to do anything, or it might not turn out the way we want. You've got to act, and then you got to react. And I think that's what heated agreement with Mark. You see when Israel acts, I don't like Netanyahu. I think the government's a disaster, but they acted, and they acted beautifully. And every Western European leader knows that Iran was very close to a bomb. Everyone knows, and they were going to allow it, folks. Anybody who thinks they weren't going to allow it, look at their complete immobilization of the Western world since Barack Obama entered into this absurd agreement. And now the IAEA, the people that were supposed to referee this absurd agreement, finally 20 years later decided that Iran was in violation of that agreement. For all the crap we've heard from all the pundits and the experts and CNN and MSNBC about how great the Barack Obama deal was, and they were never going to get a bomb, and the IAEA is an amazing organization. So it's time to clean it out and be done with it. Or we can keep spending 20% of our gross domestic product in America, and we can spend 50% of it in Israel on fighting wars. That doesn't help human flourishing, because that's the other option.
Yeah, I mean, this, one of the reasons after October 7 we decided to sort of focus on the Israel issue is because how clear it was that the only reason why people are on the wrong side is a really corrupt philosophy. The fact that at this point, I mean, you can be the most I don't know what kind of altruist or sort of like a view of bilateralism, and you have to make a deal. The fact that you look at the option of taking out Iran and you still consider making a deal, and again, this doesn't even mean that countries like France and Britain have to actively get engaged. Just look the other way. Don't comment on this. Don't say anything. Maybe even, condemn Iran or say maybe it should stop. But all you have to do is look the other way, let Iranian regime get taken out, and everybody benefits. There's not a single Western country that has any benefit from Iran and is actually endangered from Iran. I mean, is the fact that countries like North Korea or China or possibly Iran have nuclear weapons, is that good to anybody in Western country? The more rogue regimes have nuclear weapons, it's not benefit to anybody. But it's a clearly like such a lack of any proper philosophy, or rather having of a really bad philosophy, or basically not being able to assert itself, not being confident in its own ideas. I mean, Alex, what the hell is going on even with this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I don't care. They've decided not to believe in themselves. They've decided not to believe in their own power and their own good. well, that's really their problem, and maybe that is not manifesting itself in some grand crisis today, but it will. Of course, we know that. It's it's just a matter of time. I mean, in terms of the United States, it's got a nice big pretty army, but there is a real hesitancy to use it. And I think as well, because there has been so much, I don't want to say propaganda, but I think also this very uncharitable reading of history on behalf of the Americans. Okay, I mean, I even have people who are dissing the Gulf War. I mean, the Gulf War was beautiful. The Gulf War was the last American victory. It was they had a mission. Desert Storm, Desert Shield, they set out to achieve an objective. They achieved it. And it was very swift, and it was truly a great operation. So to have people kind of diss it, I think, oh, that's just a way to not it's a very uncharitable reading of history. And the purpose of the Gulf War was not to stay there in perpetuity. It was to prevent Kuwait being taken over by Saddam Hussein. They did that in 3 days. It was great. But yeah, I mean, someone else in the chat was asking, how long do I think that Israel can fight, without help from the United States? And the question, kind of the answer to that really is, how do you define fighting? If you define fighting as something that if you define fighting as like having these underground, I suppose, agents, right, who are there doing sabotage, who are killing the leaders, I think they can do that really indefinitely. I think that's very inexpensive, right? But if you're talking about kinetic war, that, yeah, I would say they've been preparing for this for years, and they've been preparing for it to last, maximum 2 months. I would say that you'll start to see a lot of anxiety probably on the part of the IDF within about 4 or 5 weeks. 4 or 5 weeks, they're going to start to think, how many interceptors do we have? They're going to start to think about how long can we actually keep this thing going. But right now, it's going great. Right now, there'll be no reason to stop. They can't stop politically. It would be political suicide for them for the government if they were to stop at this point. We've already suffered. We've already had, however many, whatever you want to call it, however many ballistic missiles, okay, like that have been plundered into buildings, destroying neighborhoods. If you pull out now, it was for literally no reason. I think that there's a consensus that we're happy. We can tolerate, okay, that we can tolerate it. If it is if victory is the final goal, okay. In the pursuit of victory, right? We lost 2,300 soldiers in the 6-day war, right? I think that was a very heavy price to pay, very painful price to pay, right? Just at the Battle of Ammunition Hill was 66, a tremendous amount of deaths. But we kind of, okay, if that's what if that's what the price is for victory, right, then that's the price.
Yeah, I mean, something that has to be remembered, because, as after you said the Gulf War, people in the chat are saying, what about Afghanistan? What about Iraq? But the fact is that when we went to Afghanistan, we kind of had a goal. We are going after Al-Qaeda, but then we are here for 20 years. We are trying to establish a civilian regime, or kind of, and then as soon as we pull out, it gets completely wiped out. So yeah,
but
when
I
you
just want to say as well, sorry, I just want to say something. The reason that the Iraq war failed and the reason that the Afghanistan war failed is because they were wars with social objectives. Okay, they were wars that did not have military goals. Okay, the military goals in Iraq were achieved. The military goals in Iraq were beautiful. Okay, they got no democracy in history has ever won an insurgent war that's lasted more than 6 months. Okay, it's not possible. Eventually, the other side that's using roadside bombs, and they're degrading the morality of the forces, it's not on their sides. Okay, they're definitely not playing on a good field. But yeah, again, that was why those wars were totally screwed up, because it was saying, oh, let's fundamentally change these people. That's a military goal. The general's going to turn around to you and he's going to be like, what am I, a social worker? Like it's completely out with their purview, right? After they toppled the regimes, they should have probably, if that was the goal, send in the social workers. But yeah, so I discount those as being military failures. That was a policy failure.
Yeah, I mean, with Iraq War, when would we start toppling the statues of the leader, right?
Yeah.
It was like within a year, it was pretty much gone, and then there was the whole, okay, now let's actually start. But Mark, I think you might have to leave in a bit. So, any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, I wish I can't say that we didn't win those wars because they were wars that were trying to attempt to change the society at large. Unfortunately, I mean, that's what we did to Japan. We destroyed them, unapologetically occupied them, and forced constitutional government down their throats, whether they liked it or not. The problem is that the idea of democracy changed in the political class so that they thought that, well, as long as people vote for something, that's good. And so we were fighting for a democracy where people could vote in anti-democratic elements. And that was stupid, utterly stupid. We also try to sanitize war now, where, we place laws on war that basically hobble the defending country, the stronger military power, and empower the weak savages. The criminality of war is in starting it, all right? And the object of the defender is to finish it, not on anybody else's terms, but the defender's terms. That means unconditional surrender. And when the other side surrenders, it means it is accepting civility again. It is now re-embracing rights and civilization. If it doesn't surrender, that means it's not. And so what do you have to do to make them reach that point? Suffer. That's just the unfortunate truth that people can't wrap their minds around anymore. So I wish it was to change society. If that were the case, then we would have unapologetically beaten the Iraqi military, which we did in 3 weeks, occupied them, forced constitutional government down their throats, banned all Islamicism, and made them take democracy whether they liked it or not. Certainly not rebuild them, certainly not assist them in any way in getting back on their feet. If we're just going to beat the enemy and leave, we have no responsibility to do anything but beat them and leave. So I think it's been a mishmash of just war theory, sanitizing war, misunderstanding that it's not in everybody's heart to have a democracy or freedom, and that if you want those things to happen in those parts of the world, you got to get a guy like General MacArthur to write the Constitution and ram it down their throats, whether they like it or not. And eventually they will like it, because they'll enter the world of peaceful nations the way Japan has, the way Germany has, and Islamicism and jihad will become a thing of the past. I mean, let's face it, this scourge has been attacking everyone on the planet since the 7th century. It's not going to stop until we make them see that their philosophy sucks and leads to mass destruction. Then it stops.
Yeah, I mean,
I gotta go.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Gotta
I
go.
see.
We have an
Yeah,
alert.
yeah. Stay safe. Stay safe.
Bye.
Stay safe.
That was terrifying.
Run.
Terrifying. It's like, it's like really. Okay, bye.
Stay
Oh,
safe.
and for everybody who wants to come, sorry, I just want to say, tomorrow there's going to be a blood drive from Magen David Adom all over Israel. There's a big shortage of blood, so please, that would be really great. Just my own request is please go and donate blood, and thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, I got to run too. Sorry, guys.
All right.
All
sure.
good. Well, I have to go as well,
All right,
unfortunately.
leaving me
But
alone here. All right,
I'm leaving you alone. Are you gonna actually be
yeah,
going
I
on
think
some
I'll
more
I'll I'll
time?
stay still for a bit longer and see. We
I'll
might
stay
have
with
more
you.
people come.
I'll stay with you for 10 minutes more, and then
All right,
I really do
thank you.
have to go.
Yeah, I mean, something I wanted to mention about, because you know, you mentioned the sort of like trying to impose governments, and a great reminder is, the quote from Ben Franklin after the Constitutional Convention in '87 when he was asked, "So, what do we have? Like, what kind of government we have?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." And that was the most enlightened society at that time, was American, like new American government. And even they understood that this is something you have to cherish, this is something you have to protect, this is something you have to understand. And it takes a long time to get it right. And the idea that, we just go there, we let them have elections, and somehow that like transforms into something better. No, that's why you need to completely wipe out whatever culture they had, whatever, well, okay, I'm maybe over exaggerating, but whatever sort of view of social culture they have, sort of view of
That's not
social.
an exaggeration.
Yeah.
That's not an exaggeration. I mean, literally, the Nazis had a Nazified culture. They had a collectivist culture. I mean, if you read Alice Miller's analysis of German culture at the time, you understand that. I mean, they were primed for Hitler. Their whole culture was brought up on altruistic ethics, and they were primed for that kind of collectivism. And the same thing goes for Japan in the religion of Shintoism and the worship of the emperor. The culture had to dynamically change. They had to see that their culture led to their own destruction. Once they know that as a felt sense, not just as an abstraction, which it remains if we keep going on ceasefire after ceasefire after ceasefire, and the culture it allows to manifest again and metastasize and then commit more crimes. They never get the felt sense, that what they're engaging in is a poisonous ideology that will end in their death. They need to have that reality brought to their doorsteps. General Sherman understood that during the Civil War. That's why he took the war to the plantation owners' doorsteps, burned down their crops, and made them suffer. And in short order, after that march through Georgia, the South surrendered.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it needs to be understood basically why a war is fought, or the nature of war. Why, and for that, I guess I would recommend Ayn Rand's essay, The Nature of War, which talks, or The Roots of War, sorry, The Roots of War, where she talks about exactly that, people, especially in modern age, think of war as, and you see this in reaction to this, right? When Israel launched its strike on Iran a few days ago, it was like, oh, Iran has a right to defend itself, or Iran has a right to respond, or the fact
Yeah,
that they
go
should sort
ahead.
of like make a deal. And that is such a ridiculous view, because those people do not understand what is war. The fact is, when you get to war, when Islamic regime took American hostages, they've told the world, we do not wish to deal with people by reason. We do not wish to deal with people by sort of mutual consensus or by a mutual understanding. We want to deal with people by force. And there is nothing you can say to those people that will make them think the other way. The only thing you can do with that attitude is to crush it down. In a similar way, we put murderers in jail. We should destroy these regimes. They have nothing to offer to us. They have nothing positive to offer to the world. And sorry, I'm looking to the side. I'm getting a bunch of red alerts, so people in Israel stay safe. Something seems to be coming. But yeah, Mark,
Yeah,
what do you?
not only that, but people that say that Iran is a sovereign country have their heads up their asses. It's not a sovereign country. No country can claim sovereignty that doesn't respect the sovereignty of its own citizens. No country can claim a right to self-defense that does not allow its own citizens the right of self-defense, or that abuses its own citizens in an authoritarian regime. Authoritarian regimes are illegitimate. We discovered that in the 18th century. Yes, our founders gave us a template for what proper government was. Proper government protected the rights of individuals to property and to pursue their own happiness. Any other type of government is illegitimate. Iran is an illegitimate state. It can't claim anything for itself until it embraces civility law, and rights. When it does that, it can claim legitimacy. Until that time, it's fair game.
Yeah, and that's why it's so ridiculous the fact that it is viewed by countries like UK, by countries like France, that they should just make a deal. They should just, or that Ukraine and Russia should just make a deal. Russia, Iran, China, North Korea are openly telling to us that they would go after every single country if they can get away with it, if they can get a chance. And what we're saying is, yes, you can do that. We maybe will do something about it, but essentially we'll try to make a deal. It, sort of to bring a more funnier side to this. It reminds me of an Onion sort of report, which was I think it was during when Obama was in the White House. It was like North Korea has killed 500 million people across Asia. Maybe we will do something now. This is unprecedented escalation. And the whole thing was basically viewed as like, okay, maybe this is going too far. Maybe now we'll actually respond in some ridiculous way. No, the first instance when they do it, I think somebody earlier brought up the quote from Ayn Rand, there can be no compromise between a property owner and a burglar. Offering a burglar a single teaspoon of one's silverware would not be a compromise, but a total surrender, the recognition of his right to one's property. So if Iran kills a single Israeli citizen with their rocket, if Iran takes a single American hostage, if Russia kills a single Ukrainian, or North Korea launches a single rocket towards the waters of some of the countries, they're saying to you, we will do more if we can get away with. And Iran will get away with it unless Israel, unless America, unless countries who do care about this life, unless countries that do care about the rights of their citizens will stand up. Unless that happens, these countries will get away with it and will continue to get away with it. They have no desire to, at some point, switch to a more reasonable culture. Their desire is to basically, they are at war with their own citizens at all times. They do not respect the rights of their own citizens. Why would they ever have any respect for the rights of anybody else?
Exactly. This is true. And it's not our fault that these authoritarian regimes make conflict ugly and despicable. It's their fault. It's not ours. That's what they do. The moral trick here is for us not to fall into the altruist trap and feel like we have to treat them as equals to us. They're not. They're not until they surrender. When they surrender, then they are claiming the equal sovereignty of human beings, and that persuasion is the way in which we attempt to sway each other. That's what surrender means. Until that time, they are fucking savages and have to be treated as savages. They are outside the law of men and they are in the law of the jungle. And until they get out of the law of the jungle, it's perfectly okay to treat them as the savages they are. Now, that's controversial nowadays. I don't know why. It shouldn't be. It seems like common sense to me, but for most people, they find this abhorrent. Well, yes, it's terrible. It's awful. It's despicable. It's disgusting. It's terrible that bad people make you do bad things in order to make them stop doing bad things. And things that will give you psychological issues for the rest of your life. It's terrible that these psychopaths put you through this, but there's no other way but through, man. There's just no other way.
We have several super chats from Jonathan. Thank you so much for all of that and for everybody else's support as well. Now I'm hearing a lot more sirens, so there are also sirens in the north. I think there are sirens most likely across the country. So I'm hoping our Israeli viewers are watching this from a safe shelter, or ideally, staying safe first and foremost. With that, we'll be back tomorrow. We are doing 2 shows every single day, so make sure to join us again tomorrow at noon UK time, 7 p.m. Eastern, as well as 5:30 p.m. UK time and 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We will be live every single day for a while, twice a day, so make sure to join us. Thank you, Mark, for joining me today. Any last thoughts from you?
No, good luck, Israel. You're the vanguard of civilization. We don't pray here because we're atheists, but you're in our thoughts. We know that you are the heroes right now of the world, despite what so much of the backwards rest of the world is thinking. We know that you are the ones who are ultimately going to make peace possible. Stay strong. You have supporters here in the United States and across the world who fight for you on the other front, on the PR front. We understand that that's part of the front of the war as well, and we will not let you become demoralized. We will help you keep your morale up where it should be. The enemy is defeatable, quite defeatable, and you guys have demonstrated that amply. Thank you so much for exposing how weak Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran are. Now nobody has to be afraid of the big bag monster. We could just get rid of him.
Yeah, and as I said, people should subscribe to the channel, since we are live every single day, twice a day, and we do special episodes also when something big happens. So make sure to don't miss that. Thank you, Mark, for joining me today. Thank you also all my other panelists for joining us who had to leave. Thank you everybody for watching, and bye bye.